At the gravesite of the Fabulous Moolah, the goddess of the squared circle, held the world championship for 29 years, won a pro wrestling match on her 80th birthday here in Columbia, South Carolina. You don't see this too often when they have a plaque on the grave detailing someone's entire life, and that's what's here. But it does leave out some of the more disturbing allegations and things that have come out about her life. I'm going to have to fill you in on that right now.
I know you gonna dig this. Get funky with me.
Slamming a Fabulous Moolah. No. Moolah right on top. Puts up. One of the most amazing things in the world is the way that Moolah can turn things back around.
Well, she's well experienced, Vince, and she took advantage of it. Barely a victory, I must add. Very lucky.
Here is the time, 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and the winner, the lady wrestling champion of the world, the Fabulous Moolah.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing today? Welcome to Columbia, South Carolina. And I've been wanting to come to this location for quite a long time. I say that a lot, but I've got a huge list of places I want to go to. And this is high on the list. I drove through here maybe a month and a half ago, but I was on my way somewhere else. I didn't have time to stop. Finally, I'm here. This is the compound, the former location, the former compound, I should say, of the Fabulous Moolah, looked upon as probably the greatest female wrestler of all time, who had quite a colorful life and a very controversial life. Now the home stood right here. I'm going to turn the camera around a second. I want to show you some of this stuff behind me. There's 2 ponds on the property, more than likely filled with alligators, so I'm going to stand right directly in the middle. So I've got an easy way out on both sides, I hope. Now, this is a huge plot of land, and the house used to stand right here. And up until about 2 years ago, it was still here, but all burnt out, because in 2017, there was a fire, and one person passed away, and a few others were injured. And it looks like now that, well, it doesn't look like now the remains of the house are completely gone. Fabulous Moolah held the women's championship title for 29 years. She was larger than life, very, very, I think it's a colorful personality. She controlled women's wrestling, and a legend, but with a quite, there are some allegations about her that are very, very unsettling. Let's turn the camera on. So right here is where the house used to stand. You can see some foundation left behind. After she passed away in 2007, I believe a ministry bought the property at some point, and the main house, which was here, was used as a rehabilitation facility of some sort. But all on the property, there's little cottages. There's that one there, back there, and then on this side, there's a couple right here. And women would come here to train, and a couple of men, to be professional wrestlers, and they would live on Moolah's property. I'm going to see what I can show you, if I can drive in or walk around, because I really want to see more. Because I first read it was a barn where she had a wrestling ring set up where she would do training. First started off with just a mattress in the house, but then, from what I know, there was a barn, and some people said there was a shed-like building behind the house, which would have been that one. Not too sure. But at one point, this was a very, very bustling property. Very deserted now. Right on the other side of the fence, there's a beautiful little neighborhood. Lots of houses. But I don't know what's going on here now. I'm going to see what we can do. We'll walk around. I'll tell you some more about Moolah's life. You can see there, it says 101 Moolah Drive, demolition. And there's going to be something built here. It's dated January 8th, 2024. So, slated for the rest of the property to be demolished? I'm not sure. Let me drive around, I guess. You can see the old walkway to the house. This is wild. And stood right there where all that big mound of dirt is. You can see there's a bunch of houses that were here because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mailboxes and a scooter. So Fabulous Moolah, she was born here in 1923 in South Carolina. Her mother died when she was only 8 years old. And to cheer her up, apparently her father took her to local wrestling matches. She saw women's champion Mildred Burke and inspired her to become a wrestler herself. She began training with Mildred Burke's husband, Billy Wolfe, who was notorious for his abusive relationship with his women trainees. Moolah only lasted a year in his camp before the abuse took its toll on her. She ventured out on her own in 1949. She soon assembled her own crew of girls, but that guy, Billy Wolfe, he had a stranglehold on the North American circuit, so work was hard at first. But there was a Boston promoter that gave her a big break, started using Moolah's girls, as they were called, instead of Billy Wolfe's. And soon other promoters started following suit. A bunch of promoters came together to announce a tournament to declare a women's champion, and Fabulous Moolah was the winner. She held the title for, like I said, 29 years. She owned it, actually. She actually owned the title, like financially owned it. And she booked it, so she was her own booker. She booked herself wherever she went, so she monopolized the title to herself. In total, she held the title for over 11,000 days, I believe it was, 1956 to 83. Then she sold an exclusive deal to Vince McMahon and the WWF at the time. It was called WWF. So she sold the women's championship to be used by the WWF. They immediately took it off of her and gave it to Wendi, Richter. So the allegations against Fabulous Moolah, they range from extortion, emotional abuse, to outright somewhat sex trafficking. And what happened was, well, I'm going to be brief about this because there's so much information now that's coming out, and it's some terrible stuff. If it's, like I said, it's all allegations, nothing has been proven. But I mean, you know, so women had to come here and pay a fee to be trained, and they would live on the property. Fabulous Moolah required that all the women that were training here sign a contract that allowed her to function as their booker and receive 25% of their booking fee. Now, she also charged rent and training fees. So a lot of the trainees went into debt. Pretty much Fabulous Moolah controlled their lives. A few wrestlers worked for Fabulous Moolah for years and made no money. Because after her booking fee, which sometimes went up to 30%, their paycheck was further reduced as she deducted travel expenses, food, rent, utilities, before she would pay them. Now the sex trafficking, they use the word, in the article I read, they use the word pimp. In return for money, she rented her female wrestlers, this is allegations, allegedly, rented her female trainees out in bulk to wrestling promoters so that the promoters and the male wrestlers could have sex with them. Sweet Georgia Brown, she's a very, very famous wrestler. She was trained by Fabulous Moolah and her husband, Buddy Lee, her husband that she eventually split up with. Had allegations, said her mother told her that she was often raped, given drugs, and made an addict in an intentional attempt by Fabulous Moolah and Buddy Lee to control her. Apparently, Fabulous Moolah had some relations with some of the female trainees, but forbid at least one or two of her pupils from going to gay bars and encouraged her to have them have sex with men because they wanted to present a certain image. Now, co-workers have spoken out in Fabulous Moolah's defense. A wrestler named Shane Douglas said he never heard anybody speaking against Moolah during his career. Another female wrestler, Beverly Shade, defended Moolah, saying she was never that kind of person. Jerry Lawler said he never heard or saw anything like that when he was in the business. That special that they do, The Dark Side of the Ring, I didn't watch it. I always like to do my own research. Now, Sweet Georgia Brown's son, apparently on the Dark Side of the Ring episode, stated that his mother indeed was made to have sex with paying promoters and wrestlers. One other gentleman said the only negative thing he heard of her was he took a percentage of their pay, which was laid out in their contract clearly before they even started training day one. She'd collect the women's pay from promoters, and after taking out her own pay, would only give the girls half of the money they were owed, keeping half of their pay for herself plus her own pay, and telling them that was all the promoter gave to her. So, not a really nice thing to do. Not very good business practice. She returned to the ring in 1999. God, and what age would she have been? Oh my God. But she began experiencing occasional dizziness, and as a result, her doctors requested that she begin to wear a heart monitor. A few days later, she was admitted to the hospital for viral pneumonia. She stayed in the intensive care unit for 24 days, during which she was unconscious for 15 days. Eventually, on November 2nd, 2007, 84, so 1999, 2007, 8 years, so 76, she was still in the ring at the age of 76. That is wild. According to her daughter Mary, the possible cause of death was heart attack or blood clot related to her recent shoulder replacement surgery. She bought this property, I believe, in 1992 when it was purchased. I just got really close to the water, didn't realize it. Her best friend, also a professional wrestler, is named Mae Young. She lived with her at this property, as did a famous, and I'm going to use the term midget wrestler. That's what they were called at the time. I'm not sure if they're still called that, but that's not the proper word to use now. Katie Glass. Old paddle boat here. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think this is the other side. The house is right there, was right there. But I think this was one of the cottages on the property. Can't get too close to that water. I'm not kidding. This is South Carolina, man. You got to be careful. That's 102 Moolah Drive. So some female wrestlers would have lived there as well. As you can see, there's the main street right there. Come right through the brick pillars, and what was once a fabulous compound for Fabulous Moolah, of course. Not quite sure about the other people who stayed here or came to train. I don't think it was the best experience for most of them, from what I've read, allegedly. The house stood right here, and then that fire took her right out. Wild. See some old brickwork down where there would have been a dock right there. No, what you get done on this water. Paddle boat right there in the middle. So I guess people had fun going on the water. Wow, see that landing? Nailed it. We're gonna go visit Fabulous Moolah's grave right now, our final resting place, which is, I believe, is about 30 minutes from here. This is the location, though. Alright, well, this was not hard to find at all. Straight ahead, let me zoom in. That's the entrance of the cemetery. Followed right to the back, and we're going to find the graves of Katie Glass, Mary Lillian Ellison, aka Fabulous Moolah, and Mae Young. Let's take a look at Mae Young's first. Wow. There she is, and here's what it reads. It's you don't see a lot of biographies at grave sites. I don't have to memorize as much. Born Johnny Mae Young in Sand Springs, Oklahoma, the daughter of John and Little Mae Young would become the Great Mae and be considered one of the toughest in the wrestling business. A career that began in 1940 would span 7 decades. In 1945, the Great Mae would be the only lady to wrestle champion Mildred Burke to a 30-minute draw in Louisville, Kentucky, and was an undefeated U.S. champion lady wrestler. At the young age of 80, the Great Mae and her partner in the squared circle, the Fabulous Moolah, would sign a 5-year contract with WWE and together win a pro wrestling match here in Columbia, South Carolina in 2003. Death is where thy sting, grave, where is thy victory? We have a building of God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. Now over here, we have Katie G. Glass, who is still alive. I thought, when I read that her grave was here, I assumed she had passed on, but she's still alive. And they've already got her legacy written down. That's odd. So I just had to double check. She's 79 years old. She's retired now. She's still alive. Born Katie G. Glass in Richmond, Virginia, the daughter of Fred and Ethel Glass, she would become the first quote-unquote midget champion in lady wrestling. Katie was named Diamond Lil in the ring, but her dedicated friend and trainer named her the Damned Midget. The Fabulous Moolah named her that. Whom Katie called Ma, would train her to become a champion on a quote-unquote midget team. It is love that asks, that seeks, that knocks, that finds, and that is faithful to what it finds. And now here we are, finally, at the grave of Mary Lillian Ellison, the Fabulous Moolah. Born Mary Lillian Ellison in Tokyo, South Carolina. The daughter of Henry and Mary Ellison, was raised by her father and 12 brothers after the passing of her beloved mother at 40 years of age. Moolah, a beloved mother and grandmother, also loving and appreciative of family, friends, and fans. The goddess of the squared circle, won her first pro wrestling match in 1949, won the Ladies World Championship in 1956, and held the championship for 29 years. She was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 1995. At the young age of 80, sounds familiar, the Fabulous Moolah signed a 5-year contract in 2003 with Vince McMahon and won a pro wrestling match on her 80th birthday in Columbia, South Carolina. On the bottom it reads, doubt sees obstacles, faith sees a way. Doubt sees the blackest night, faith sees the day. Doubt dreads to take a step, faith soars on high. Doubt questions who believes, faith answers I. Lots of flowers here. Go through here, on the bench. Now, Mary Lillian Ellison, as it says there, was someone's mother and grandmother. And I've laid out some of the more disturbing allegations that were made against her and her ex-husband. But like I said, she's still a mother and a grandmother. So that's what this rock is for, to represent for her family. Because I was unsure about leaving a rock after I read everything I read about her. But may she rest in peace. Katie, I hope you live another 25, 30 years. And may rest in peace as well. I'm never at a loss for words, usually when I leave a gravesite. Fabulous Moolah, May Young, do hope you're resting in peace. Katie, as I mentioned, 79 years old, I hope you are thriving still and able to, hope you live a long time. As for the allegations made against Fabulous Moolah, I don't know for certain. There's people said that she did these terrible things, or other people say that she did not. So, for the ladies that have accused her of such horrific things, ones that have passed away, I hope they're resting in peace. The ones that are still alive, I hope you've been able to find some sort of peace in your heart, I don't know. I hope you're doing okay. Rest in peace. Yeah. She's somebody's mother and grandmother. Thanks for watching, everybody. Love you all. Peace out.